Hello there, I'm Sarah and welcome to my channel, Travel for Every Budget. Today, we're asking the question, Santorini or Mykonos? Which one is better? I promise you I have a very strong opinion and definite answer for you, but I have read some opposing views to my own, and I definitely realized upon reflection that those people are just a different type of traveler to me. So after I review the highlights of both of my trips to Santorini and Mykonos, I will share a little bit of insight into me and who I am as a traveler so that you can decide if my opinion is right for you. So my very first trip to Greece was Athens and Santorini, and it was the perfect time for me to go, which was the end of May. While there were tourists, I could tell it was definitely not the high season, just based on the fact that I stayed near a black sand beach on the southern part of the island, and there were hundreds of empty lounge chairs. So I definitely never felt that I was overwhelmed by tourists in Santorini while I was there. However, definitely more tourists are going to be up in Ia. Here's some standout parts of my trip. One is just exploring Ia and taking in the magical Santorini sunset from Ia. Ia is this cute little town type experience. You can stop at a restaurant, have dessert or a meal, and just have this spectacular view. And then of course at the end of the day, you can watch the most magical sunset. Yes, you will not be watching that sunset alone, but it's still magical. Another thing that I did while in Santorini that I really enjoyed was a day trip, and I hope I pronounced this correctly, but it was a day trip to the Volcano, the hot springs, and to Thirassia. I hope I did that justice. I'm so sorry. This was a beautiful trip. We kind of climbed the volcano, learned about just the history of the area, the Caldera and everything. And then we went to the hot springs for a quick swim. And then from there we had lunch in Thirassia, and we could see Santorini from that viewpoint. And honestly, this whole area is just so beautiful. So any way that you can soak up the views, definitely do it. Speaking of views, there is a hike that you can do, and I definitely recommend doing at least a part of it because the views are just so amazing. And you can make little stops along the way, and it's just a fun way to spend an afternoon. The way that I chose to explore Santorini was by ATV. Now originally I did want to rent a scooter because I just had this charm in my mind of exploring on a scooter, but they only rent to people with motorcycle license, and in hindsight, that's 100% a good call. Santorini can be treacherous in parts, and so I definitely think you should not be on a scooter unless you're really confident in your ability. But I rented an ATV and explored the island. I went and saw Red Beach from that viewpoint. I was staying on the southern part of Santorini anyways, but I did go and view the other black sand beach that was nearby, went and saw a lighthouse, and even one day drove up into Ia on the ATV, and driving the main road to Ia ended up being, I thought, was super beautiful and amazing, but I'm not afraid of heights, but my friend is afraid of heights, and so it was a kind of a rough experience for her, but we did make it, she made it. And then on the way back, after we had finished in the area, we drove back another way, and I got to see kind of a different part of Santorini, which I loved and she appreciated because we didn't take that crazy main road. And the main road is basically rock, 2-lane road, cliff. There's a guardrail, then a cliff, to be clear. The views are amazing, but if you are afraid of heights, that might not be your favorite road experience. Another thing we did in Santorini that I loved was eating some seafood at Amudi Bay. And if you have seen Sisterhood of the Traveling Pants, you have seen Amudi Bay. It is so cute, and you can sit right by the water and just enjoy your lunch or dinner or whatever you are eating. And then finally, one of my most favorite memories, and I guess I have a lot of favorite memories in Santorini, but I really loved the cliff jumping experience that I did. So if you keep walking past Amudi Bay, you kind of eventually turn a corner, and I did see some kids jumping off a real cliff, but I didn't want to bother them, obviously. So I just kept on going to the touristy cliff jumping experience where you have to swim across to the island and they have a little bit of a rope ladder situation for you, and then you walk to this platform that they've created, which is why I'm saying it's less of a real cliff because it is a concrete platform that they made. Either way, I loved it. The Mediterranean Sea is a little cold for me, but I was still able to get in, accomplish the mission, and return. So if you are into cliff jumping, definitely add that to your list. So my second trip to Greece was Mykonos, Tinos, and Cyprus. The great thing about Santorini and Mykonos is both islands are very easy to get to. So I flew directly from London to Mykonos, which was fantastic. And then from Mykonos, I ferried to Tinos. I spent about 3 days in Mykonos and then went to Tinos. And then when I came back, spent a day on the beach in Mykonos. Of course, that day it ended up raining, but this was the beginning of October, so the weather not being fully cooperative is understandable. And instead of relaxing on the beach, I just relaxed indoors, so it didn't really cramp my style too much. But for the 3 days that I spent in Mykonos, these were my highlights. We stayed near Mykonos town within walking distance, which ended up being perfect because that is really where the bulk of the action is. So we were there for dinner pretty much every night. In Mykonos, you can wander the streets similar to Ia, shops, restaurants, they're all there. It's kind of a similar vibe. And then they also have the windmills and they have Little Venice, which similar to Amudi Bay is basically right on the water. Similar to Santorini, I rented an ATV. I don't know how the locals feel about these ATVs, but the people who are profiting from them probably are locals too, so hey. I rented an ATV and also kind of explored Mykonos. Same thing, I went to check out the different beaches, and the Mykonos beaches are what you would think of when you think of a beach. They don't really have the black sand or red beaches that Santorini has. It's more of the white sand like you think of normally. So I explored the beaches, they were beautiful. Also had a lighthouse, similar to what I did in Santorini. And then I made my way in Mykonos to an organic farm that was so cute. I mean, it was very small, but really cute, and I had the best halva dessert. The day trip that I took in Mykonos, I absolutely loved, and I'm gonna apologize ahead of time if I am mispronouncing these places, but the day trip was to Rhenia Island and then to Delos Island. Now, Rhenia had the, most incredible looking watercolor I have ever seen. It just, I was mesmerized by the color of the water. Now, again, this was like end of September and I'm from a hot weather climate, so I was actually kind of cold on the boat and never jumped in the water as a result, but there were people who did swim at this stop. And then from there, we went over to Delos, and this is ancient. Like, it's 3rd millennium BC, ancient. And it's so fascinating. So upon arrival, they give you a quick tour, give you an explanation of things, and then you have some time to kind of walk around and explore on your own. Even though I was cold on the boat and it was super windy, here it was super hot. There was like no wind and it was just hot. I can't imagine going in the middle of summer. That's just a pro tip if you are gonna be in Greece at a hotter time. Really try and plan accordingly. Maybe go the earliest tour offering available. Either way, it was a day trip that I absolutely loved. And then of course in Mykonos, relax on a beach. If you are staying closer to Mykonos town, you can go and enjoy your time at a beach club, or if you want to spend a night or two by the beach, you can do so as well. But it is kind of far from the town, so just keep that in mind. Mykonos is known as a party island, but I'm not a partier, and so I can't really speak to that experience. And I know that when I was there, it didn't have the same party scene vibe that it probably has during high season. All right, so before I tell you what I think is the clear winner here, let me just give you a little bit of insight into who I am so that you can know whether or not you should trust my opinion. I was born in Barbados and my mom is from Trinidad, so I am an island girl, but we moved to the States when I was 2 years old. I have one American grandparent out of my 4, and that's ultimately how we ended up here. Even though as a family we didn't do a lot of traveling when I was younger, we did obviously visit Barbados to visit my dad's side of the family, and this did create in me a hunger for travel. So overall, I would say that I am more of a traveler, not a vacationer. If I do want to relax on a beach, I can drive 35 minutes or I can hop on a plane and visit my birthplace. So vacationing is not really what I go after. I'm more about traveling and experiencing new places and cultures and just taking in the beauty of this world. I am also not afraid to drive. I have driven in numerous countries. Any destination that has called for it, I have driven, whether that's automatic, manual, right side, left side of the road, doesn't matter. I have driven. But overall, I'm just somebody who loves to see new places, experience new things, and I don't really want to just sit at a resort and be comfortable. I definitely prioritize experience over comfort, although I do like to be somewhat comfortable. Okay, so now let's get to who I think is the clear winner, and that is Santorini. Santorini is just, it has no equal in Greek islands. It is so beautiful. No other island in Greece has the Caldera views that Santorini offers. Santorini is one of the few places in the world that has a black sand beach. Red Beach, Santorini. Nowhere else in Greece really offers what Santorini offers. It is just magical from every single angle and just worth seeing for yourself. Mykonos does have nice beaches and a party scene if those are what you're going for, and it is more comfortable. And so what do I mean by that? Santorini in parts is treacherous. Remember when I explained my ATV ride through the main road? So with it being more kind of treacherous feeling, it's not going to have the same, you're not going to have the same level of freedom that you would feel maybe in Mykonos, which is a little bit easier to get around because it's flatter and less intimidating. Also, when I was in Santorini for the boat tour, we were dropped off at the bottom by the water and we were basically told to go watch the sunset in Ia. Well, between us and Ia was just this mountain of steps. And so you either walked it or you hopped on a donkey. Those were your options. So if you are currently in a stage of life where maybe you're nursing an injury or maybe you're just not as mobile as you would like, Santorini might not be the best option for you at the moment. And listen, I get it. I fractured a bone a couple of years ago, and so it was just hard nursing it and getting it back into shape. And honestly, I'm still working on getting back into running after the injury. So I know that sometimes there's times in life where it can be harder to get around. Santorini might make it tough depending on your level of mobility to explore the island to its fullness. That's not saying that you shouldn't go to Santorini. I'm just saying maybe don't go to Santorini if that's your current state and save it for another time when you can really maximize your enjoyment of it. So if Mykonos works better for you at this current time, no worries. It's a great island. I had an amazing time there. I just don't think that it is comparable to Santorini. But both of these islands get about 2 million visitors every single year. And honestly, if you are shoulder to shoulder with just tons of other people, it's gonna put a damper on any experience. So if you are going during high season, I would actually suggest to skip both islands and go to the lesser visited Greek islands so that you can really enjoy your time at a leisurely pace without having to worry about all of the crowds. So there you have it. I think Santorini is just pure magic and not to be missed, but it might not be right for the trip that you're planning right now, and that is okay. Just go back whenever you can at a lesser touristy time to really experience all that Santorini has to offer. I can't imagine a Greek island not charming you in some way. And I did go to Tinos and I loved Tinos. So don't be afraid of the lesser visited islands because you might be surprised at the magical experience they will offer. Well, I hope this video helped you to decide which island is right for you. And I do hope that you put Santorini on your list one day. just be strategic about when you visit so that you can really enjoy your experience there. I will provide some links in the description to some of the things that I've mentioned to make it easy for you if you are planning a trip. Thank you so much for watching. Happy travels. Bye.